All right.
Jack, how are you?
Okay.
I'm watching an ARP video on DVD on aging.
Oh, hello, Ron. And Jim Haynes is there too.
And Jim.
Oh my goodness, all sorts of people are popping in. I've got 2 views of Ron Whalen.
Are you in CinemaScope, Ron?
That's the best I've ever seen. That is wonderful. All right.
Okay, good morning, Haynes. It's Jim Haynes.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Ron, can you hear us? Hello, Bert. With Bert's hanging out there in the back. You got to turn on the, I'll call Ron. I'll take care of Ron.
Ron, can you hear us? Wave if you can. Yeah, your audio off, I think. Yeah, we can't hear you. That's an impressive in basket behind you, though.
Okay.
There he is.
Hello.
You're alive, Ron.
Yes, I finally became alive. It took a little while.
What is the secret of turning that on? I've never had that problem. Mine comes on automatically.
Well, I tried another computer.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
But I think I hear Jack on my.
Yeah, he's calling you. He's off the camera right now.
Hey, Jack.
Help.
Yeah, are we doing okay?
Now we got Jack. It's like a Keystone Cop movie.
Well, is Ron's audio working here? Because then I'll go in.
His audio's working.
I've got a link to him in the other room. I'll go take care of it.
Okay. So who we wait? We got Ron. We got the foursome here.
Are you gonna hang up, Jack?
I think he just did.
Connected to my show. Yeah, we both have Echo shows, and he just called me in my kitchen.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, well, I was going to try to walk you through how to get the audio, because unfortunately the default is audio off, so you have to authorize the audio.
Yeah.
While we're waiting, Jim and Ron, did you get the agenda and get the documents and all that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's Walt.
Great.
Walt, are you going to be on camera or are you on a phone today?
Hello.
Hello, Walt.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Good. Can you see me yet?
No.
Okay. Let's see if I can figure out why. Supposedly, you should be able to see me, but I don't see you either. I'm still looking for the right button to press.
Oh, wrong agenda. Wrong agenda. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Okay, I can hear you guys now.
We need to turn your volume, your send volume up a bit.
Okay. Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Okay. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I can hear you okay now. Maybe it was just
Okay.
where you were. Well, it's raining in Florida. What's it doing where you are? At least my part of Florida is raining.
It's beautiful up here.
It's always beautiful here.
Yeah,
I'm in Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
very nice in New Jersey.
Good. Kim, did you talk to Bennett this morning?
Yes, I did.
So you know that I'm going to try to come that Friday morning?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, good.
Okay, I think that's the right agenda.
That is?
And I'm not sure. I think there's some added items. I'm not sure how that is going to be handled. So,
That looks to me like the latest one.
yeah, well, there's a joint task force item and the executive committee item.
Yeah.
And, I still don't see Walt Boyd. But,
No, I haven't been able to figure out why I'm not showing up.
okay.
All the indications are that my camera should be working.
Yeah, well, I can't help you with an Apple. Apple computers are foreign to me.
Well, I'm on an Apple. What do we need to, is there a control panel?
Well, there is. Yes, you can start and stop the video, and
Oh, wait a minute.
it's showing that my built-in camera is working.
Okay, if you move, if you can see your screen, put your mouse down at the bottom, and that brings up a toolbar. And on the far left, it says mute, stop video.
Yep, that's
And
what
then
I've
in the
been
middle-
working with. When I look at the stop video, I've checked for FaceTime HD camera built in. So there's something else that stopped my camera.
It may be an
I
operating
have a
system.
camera blocker, but I've turned it off, and I'm going to try to turn it back on and off again, just to see what happens.
Who is it that's having the problem? I think oh, wait a minute.
Walt Boyer.
I see, well, boy, okay.
Yeah. Okay, I turned my blocker back, my cam blocker back on. Now I'm turning it off again. And I haven't shown up yet, have I?
There's,
Whoa, here we go.
No, don't know why my camera isn't working.
We keep saying your name.
Yeah. Everything says my camera should be on.
There we go. Okay. Well, we got Kim. There you go.
Oh, got it.
oh,
Oh, there's Ann.
Hey, Walt, good day.
Incidentally, I should tell you all that the doctor let a nurse take me over to a meeting yesterday in Greensboro. And I heard Steve Fleming speak to a bunch of residents. He's going to be the new board chair for leading age. Yeah. My impression after hearing him speak was that the leading age board is totally focused on the interests of providers and two ways. The legislation and regulations that the government is issuing and what its impact is going to be on providers and residents. it appears from what he said, and I'm interpreting between the lines now, and so it's my impression, that their board's interest in the current residents is only what they can do to help forward their interests. Jack has said he has trouble with dealing with Steve Mogg, and I suspect that Steve, as a good lawyer, is just reflecting what his clients want him to do. And I think it's the problems we're having with leading age go right up to the board of directors itself.
No, I have friends who are on the leading age board, and the board is split about 60-40. There's an evolution going on, and I think the bend is moving toward us.
Do you think we are getting some help?
But since you mentioned Steve Fleming, he is a respected provider who is adamant that residents should not be listened to.
No, that's exactly the impression I got from him yesterday.
Well, he's well known for he's right up there with Peter Dice as being antagonistic toward his customers.
Okay.
Well, right now, we do not yet have a quorum, if my check-in is correct. We've got Walt, Jack, Ann, myself. How's that?
Well, I thought that might be somebody trying to get in. Some of the people try to phone in. I'm not sure how that works, Ann, with the password. You gave them instructions.
Yeah, I just copied the same Zoom link from before.
Yeah, and they work. It's there.
Yeah, I don't know that the phone. Since the meeting is now password protected, I'm not sure that the phone, how the phone handles.
Well, it seemed to work last month because Ruth got in.
Yeah, and I talked to Miss Ruth this morning, and she said she was going to be on. So why don't I try to give her a holler?
Yes, would you? I talked to her too.
That'd be nice, Kim, if you would.
That'd give us a quorum if you can get a hold of her. Yeah.
I sent a revised executive committee minutes just a couple minutes ago because Jim Haynes said that there wasn't a need to authorize payment. It was just an upgrade to PayPal Pro.
Well, I think it's wise to be fully transparent. So I don't see why that shouldn't be on the agenda. If include everything.
Well, if anything, it shows that we're listening to our members in that people without PayPal accounts needed a system to get in.
Well, we do. That would be desirable.
Okay, here we go. That's Ruth, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Good. Well, that gives us a quorum. So, are you ready to go, Ruth? Are you?
Yeah, all I got to do is fumble a little bit to get my papers right. I couldn't get the right number.
You got 2 minutes to fumble, and we'll get underway.
Okay, I'm unfumbled now. Let's go.
Thank you. Well, let's call the meeting to order. I have a quorum available right now, consisting of Walt Boyer, Jack Cummings, Ann McKay, Ruth Walsh, and myself. So let the minutes reflect that, and let's go to the first item of business, which is the minutes from the prior meeting, which is the minutes of September the 6th, 2017. Ann, your show.
I have not received any feedback that there needed to be any corrections, so I would offer that the minutes be accepted as distributed.
Yeah, I'll move, but the meetings that showed up were for March 18th and not September.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I don't know that we've received the actual minutes. The link doesn't go to,
Okay.
Well, I got the video, so I know I was okay with it.
How about going to the NaCCRA website? No, they're not approved. They're not there yet because they're not approved yet.
yeah, so why don't we
We'll just put that on hold.
We'll carry it forward to the next meeting.
Yeah, carry forward. Let's go to the next item, which is finance, and I do want to spend a minute or so on that. We do not have a treasurer, so I'm going to talk a little bit about financial reports as I see them. And so far this year, I looked at the revenues and expenditures versus the budget for the year. I don't know how good our budget was. I wasn't around when it was put together. But as of the end of August, we have financials. And as of the end of August, our year-to-date performance looks pretty good, except that I realized that most of the reason it looks so good is we've got almost $25,000 in donations.
Oh.
Correct?
Yeah.
That's what I read anyhow. And but when I look at the individual members, if you do a straight line on our membership, we should have membership revenues at about 58% for the year. We're sitting at 44 for individual members. So we still do have this issue with memberships for the current year, which are down. And the state associations and community members are pretty much on budget, but the individual members are beneath where we anticipated they'll be. The bright news on the revenue side is life members in the current year, and apparently we have picked up a number of life members this year.
Do you have a number just right at your fingertips?
For what?
The life members?
Well, I got the dollar figure. The dollar figure year to date is 4,446. I don't know how you get 46 out of a even dollar revenue. That's the year to date amount, 4,446 against
Okay.
the budget of 1,000 for current year.
Okay.
46 cents comes from some of those dues that are prorated, like Bay Village and so forth.
Oh, okay. So we would, that's a proration issue, Kim? Okay. But anyhow, it's well ahead of what we had budgeted, but it still doesn't make up for the difference between the budget and the actual on individual membership. So we still got to work our individual membership. The expense side, basically, since we're not spending money on travel, it's compensating against a straight line of 58%. We're sitting at 45, so that makes our financials come out pretty well. But still, they're not robust enough to carry the cost of running the organization. And the reason I wanted to say a word about this is that I am at this point asking for budget input for the 2018 year. So that's a request at this point of anything that you know that's going to impact the 2018 budget, because I would really like to have that approved before the end of the year, and it has to yet be built.
Okay.
Question? Ruth, did you have something?
No, I did not.
But the big part of that will come from you, Ruth, since you spoke, and that is that we should have a revised estimate for next year, because if I understand it right, we're going to go to 6 issues per year next year.
Well, that's projected, but we really need to discuss that possibility.
Well, what I'm asking is that by the next board meeting, which is the end of the month,
Okay.
we ought to have an idea, roughed out expenses for the 2018 year to see what it is going to cost us to field that product that we've been talking about.
Okay. Alrighty.
Are there any questions on anything I've said so far? I had intended to get 3 years of running expenses, but to be frank, it's been a very busy time. I did not get that put together, but I will before we end up in New Orleans.
Okay.
Any questions on financial reports? You've gotten the reports, I believe, for August. I didn't amplify anything that you've already received.
No.
Questions? Can we accept the treasurer's?
Yeah, I'll move that we receive Basil's report in lieu of a treasurer's report.
Okay.
And second,
Any seconds or approvals out there?
Ruth. Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's move down to the nominating and elections committee. Now, Ann, would you make sure we note for the minutes that we did request budget input by the next board meeting for the 2018 budget?
Yes.
Thank you. Ron, are you ready to talk about nominations and election committee report?
Yes, I am. First of all, I've just got a bulleted list of things I'll go through here. First, the members of the nominating committee got acquainted with each other, which is a nice thing. And we've swapped some emails back and forth so that we understand who they are and what they do. The next thing I want to mention, and they're all great contributors. I'm glad we have them on the committee. Thank you for selecting great people. The next one I have is I submitted an article through the committee for the Lifeline, and now I saw the draft, the proof from Basil. It looked very good.
Yes.
Are we okay with that?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now I spent some time trying to identify who the current state representatives are, because we really need to work, I think, through the state representatives. And of course, the state representatives will hopefully be part of the Congress. So I worked up a list with email addresses and so forth. And I think I've got it cleaned up to the point where it's okay, thanks to the help from several people on the board. And others who have given me identified names. We did send out the Lifeline article to all the people on the state representative list, and I think I got back one telephone number. I asked for telephone numbers from all of them, but didn't get them. But I think I only got one. I was hoping to receive verification that I had actually hit the people by getting back a telephone number. We spent some time discussing what is the possible, what is the actual numbers of nominees that we are going to look for. And after a little discussion back and forth, I would say the maximum that we might need, I think, is 5, but and the minimum may be 3. And part of this was discovered and analyzed by Gerard. And I want to thank you, Gerard, for all your analysis work and staying with me and asking the right kinds of questions.
You're welcome.
I was really pleased to learn a lot about, learn what you told me about Oregon. And like I told you, my sister lives out in Beaverton, so I take an interest in that.
Look forward to you coming out and visiting.
Yeah, I should do that. I'd like to. Well, now, one of the things I want to do is hold a teleconference with the full committee. Not everybody's here on this teleconference, but we would have the full committee and set a goal, hopefully, of 1 candidate from each member of the committee, and try to set a goal of having this by December board meeting. I don't think we're going to have a meaningful list until after the NaCCRA meeting in New Orleans. But it'll be a useful place to pick up information and maybe try to solicit candidates for these positions. Any questions?
I do, if I can, Ron. Obviously, we're looking for some skill levels, skills and knowledge levels that would be useful in a board that would take shape next spring. We also have some holes in our organization right now, and it is possible to make appointments in the meantime. And as you're assembling your nominees, it occurred to me that we might be well served if we ask for resumes, etc., for any people that have expressed interest in any of the positions. I really feel that we maybe the most important thing we do in the next couple of months is to acquire a resource list, even if it's far broader than any number we can modify of people, that we can nominate, far broader than anything we can hope to employ, because we have committees and we need expertise. We do need, so I would look at it, if I could suggest that. I know it's broader than just coming up with the nominees for the vacancies and the officers that we need, but I would hope that your committee, given the caliber of people you've got on there, could identify some people that might be interested in serving the national CCRC organization. So, resumes help, word of mouth help, talk to people. We're going to have here an event on Saturday, which I hope to get some people interested here that might be somebody that would, some people we can serve up. But at any rate, I think the obtaining the resumes and recommendations are useful too. So I'll leave it at that.
I have a question, a couple of questions, or just a comment maybe. We do need a treasurer. We need 4 officers. Secondly, I think that Reverend Nicholson, really, you would be hard pressed to find somebody who is as aggressive at recruiting new members as he is. Because he's also has a religious affiliation, so that gets him into the door in a lot of places where he would not be able to get into the door if he were just somebody who was on a membership committee and couldn't even get past the front door. He can get in because of his religious affiliation and then recruit members, and that's what he did successfully. Another comment is that I see that there are, let's say, 4 members of the nominating committee. I would think that all 4 of them, or at least some of them, could serve well on the board. None of them are on the board.
In fact, let me interrupt just a minute and say I've asked one of them already, and he graciously turned it down.
So we continue to work it. That's what it takes a lot. It takes a wide pool to put that together.
Yeah, I would say the nominating committee is qualified. The difficulty we're going to have is filling your big long list, Basil, of people who are interested.
That's just a guide, as a target.
Yeah. I would be delighted to find 5 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's an aspirational list.
Yeah.
There you go, aspirational. I knew it was. Thank you.
Ron, one word, don't accept the first turn down. Keep plugging. I found that when you're looking for people, it sometimes takes 4 or 5 times to get them to turn their mind over and say yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the advice.
Question 2, is Gerard going to be a possible candidate? Gerard Highland?
I don't know that we need to put him on the spot right now.
Yeah, not to put you on the spot, Gerard.
Just to think about it, Gerard.
Let me consider that further, but
Yeah, don't say no outright.
it's a long
Think on it.
It's a long way yet to the election.
Yes, it certainly.
And hopefully we will get some excellent candidates. I would hope in particular a couple with accounting backgrounds, I think would be very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Fill your treasury position among other positions.
Okay. Any other questions for Ron? Anybody else you want to put on the spot?
Oh, okay.
I would
Okay,
like
well,
to,
we'll look forward to talking to you more, Ron, at the in New Orleans.
Yep.
Thank you for
Well, I
that.
look forward to it.
Huh?
Basil, I would like to agree with Ann regarding Reverend Bob Nicholson's
Okay.
for recruiting members. I think he was ideally suited for that position. Vice President of Membership, I think was his title.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we do have a membership committee, and that's probably what that's not me.
That's me.
Walt, can you mute your system while you're on the phone?
So, okay, well, since we've interrupted, Ann has now produced the minutes here from the September 6th, and I put them up here on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether you want to try to get rid of this now or hold it till the next meeting.
Well, everybody received a copy in the, way before the agenda too.
Yeah.
I think I'm seeing this for the first time.
Yeah, I'm not sure I saw it.
Oh,
Can I interrupt a minute, but just to say that I was intrigued by the suggestion for Bob Nicholson too, and I'll contact him and see if he won't be part of this committee, if that's all right with everybody.
Sure.
Oh. I think you can go ahead and do that, Mr. Chair. If you want to ask him to participate with you, that's more than satisfactory.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you want to try to get these minutes approved, Ann?
Well, it would be nice so they can go on the website.
Yes.
Okay, well, there's 5 of us that have to vote them. I'll vote yay on them. Jack, have you seen them?
I've seen them, and I move. I'll second your motion that they be approved as.
Okay, all right. Anybody opposed to approving these minutes?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you got it, Ann.
Thank you.
No. Okay, so the next thing is the New Orleans schedule, and we have to spend a little bit of time on this. Ruth, you want to kick it off?
Yes, I know that I have a listing, but one of the things I really need is a listing of the people thus far who are going to be coming. I have a list from the people who are staying over at our hotel, but I know there are probably others that are going to be there as well. And I really need some kind of a ballpark figures to be figuring food and that sort of thing. So these are the people that are on the list. Basil and his bride, Ann Blair from Florida, Brad Breeding, Jack Cumming, Denise Davidoff, who's from Connecticut, Jim Hayes from Virginia, Jean Hurley, Gail Janish, who's also from Connecticut, Jack Matheson, Ann McKay, Ruth Walsh, Kate Waterman, and Ron and Bertha Whalen, who are from New Jersey. Do you have any other names of people that we know would be coming?
I believe Jim Haynes from Falklands Landing is coming.
What's the last name?
Haynes, Haynes.
I think she mentioned me.
I think she did.
Yeah, I did. Jim Haynes. Yes, I did.
I'm going to say that if you need to know that, I think the way to do it would be to ask Kate Waterman, who has access.
I did this morning. These are all the names I have, and these are the people who are going to be staying at our hotel.
But I would ask, do we have somebody at leading age who can tell us who's registered?
I don't. That's almost an possibility.
I won't answer that question. I won't tell you how many NaCCRA people have signed up.
This is what I know. This is all I know.
Okay.
Is the list that I got from her this morning.
And that was Kate?
Yes.
I think that's probably,
I was wondering if there are any other people from any other states that anybody knows might be coming, because these are the people theoretically who are signed up to come to that hotel that we're going to.
Well, I wouldn't be a bit surprised, but NaCCRA showed up because he's come to the last couple. Just thinking of people who might show up he sometimes stays at a different location.
Yeah. Well, if it comes to anybody's mind that somebody might be coming, if you let me know, I would really appreciate it as we try to figure out how many food for the luncheon for Wednesday at Saturday afternoon, that kind of thing.
okay.
So we don't starve anybody to death.
Okay.
Ruth,
No.
we
Go
have
ahead,
a
Paul.
new president in North Carolina as of yesterday. Is Reverend Dr. Milton Gilbert, and I will work on him to see if he can come or not. But at this time, I don't know if there's hotel space available.
I think, I don't know that these, as I say, I got this list from Kate this morning. And so these are the people who are at our hotel. And so there could be others who have signed up that we just simply don't know about.
So is there any way to call the
No.
I do have an offer from this American Senior Magazine. This may be something we could do with an email or an e-blast or something, but for participation in one of their events, which is basically a sales show during the exhibit time, they'll pick up the price of registration at the expo event.
Yeah, so whoever participates in that would get the $99 taken care of for their registration fee.
All I'm saying is if you want to find that out and see if we could hook anybody, you might want to put a quick email together.
Could you,
also put
Basil,
it on the website?
Basil, could you send that to me and I'll include it in the.
Okay, I'll forward the email to you, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, because they are more than willing to do this, and they also would like some participants, about 2 or 3 groups of 4 to 5 people who will just be half an hour in a little kind of a workshop, fun kind of thing during the course of the exposition.
The hook is not the $99 for the fee, but if you're staying for the event, there's meals cooked to that. So that helps if you're in the hotel and you get. I think a meal comes with that registration every so often.
No, it does not. All that comes with our registration are the 3 luncheons, which will be on Monday. Well, actually 4, because we'll have Sunday lunch. That's on the house. Yeah. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the exposition hall is where the cooks from the area delight everybody with their specialties for the area, so that you kind of get all kinds of exciting New Orleans food. But that's part of the fun of being around the exhibition hall. So, but there are three luncheons that we'll take care of.
Well, I'll send that to you, Jack.
And those are free.
See
How about
if we can
put it
get
on the
anybody.
website too?
Pardon?
How about if I put that announcement on the website also?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 4 meals is 4 meals. Okay, the other thing that I would like to get a duty roster put together, if I can use that terminology from my past, because
now, before everybody volunteers, our booth is 10 by 10, and there is a large table that will cover that area, and there are about 2 or 3 chairs. And one of the biggest issues for us is not to sit behind the table and smile, but to actually go out and meet the people as they go by, and hi, how are you? And this is NaCCRA. What's that? So then we could talk about who we are, what we're after, and there will be some literature to hand out. But it's really a matter of going out and greeting and hauling people back to listen to us, because as Jack Nicholson says, we are, because we are, they are working. So it's just a matter of letting them know who we are as an organization and our aims and that sort of thing. So we have good literature to hand out, plus candy. So we're hoping that we can get a lot of people to stop by and listen and talk and become more interested in our organization.
The booth duty is yours to work. I was thinking of the Congress.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, this is the exposition hall.
Each of our discussion periods for each item that we've tabled, I think we ought to have somebody who kind of has the lead for facilitating the discussion. So somebody doesn't dominate everything.
When are you going to do that? During the course of the Saturday?
I hope so, but I'd like to at least let the board at this meeting know that we're looking for these people, because I think I'm looking primarily at the board people who would staff that. And take two of us per subject, be pretty much the board that's there, I would guess. But if we really want to capture any gems that are there, we'll have to listen to it, record it, and bring it to the board meeting the next morning. And I'd like to get a duty roster started of 2 for each of the topics that we discussed.
And what's the time frame to do this?
In the afternoon on Saturday. I think it's from...
Okay,
just
checking on the time.
3. And then I asked for those people to summarize afterwards between 3 and 4.
Good. Because the time just goes flying by, as you know, and so it's very imperative that we have our ducks in a row.
Yeah, that's the only point I wanted to make on that schedule. It's on the board now.
Okay, good.
Well,
So
I'll do a session, either as recorder or discussion leader, whichever fits.
And that's Ann?
That's Ann, yes.
Yeah, good. Thank you. So that's kind of where we're at this point. And Brad Breeding will be in our hotel, and he is all set to speak. And we've asked him to bring a couple of his books just in case, and we could try to sell those at the exposition hall or any place else that anybody's interested. But I think our ducks are in a row pretty well for the agenda and the schedule.
Okay, Ruth, you were asking.
It's Jim Haynes. Can I step in here for a minute?
Sure. Jim.
On the exhibition hall, and I've never been to Leading Edge, but I've been to a lot of big conventions. First question, how many total do you think will be attending Leading Edge?
And 5,000 people.
5,000?
I'm sure.
No, they say perhaps 8,000. Yeah.
Huh?
More than that.
Okay,
it's a lot of people.
What I'm thinking, do you know whether there's internet access or Wi-Fi rather in the exhibit hall?
I think there is, but yes. I would have to check.
I can tell you that the answer is yes, Jim, because the badges and your checking in and out for facilities, that's all online.
Okay.
But whether it's in the exhibition hall, I don't know.
There was last year.
Yeah, there was last year and the year before.
Yeah, I would think it would still be.
The reason I'm asking is it seems to me, I'm not understanding what the makeup of the attendees there, but obviously there's some residents and others who might be on the spot NaCCRA. If we're going to be selling that, and I think we can get this set up pretty quickly, and we can have somebody stand there with an iPad or an iPhone with a card reader, and all you need is a name, address, and phone number and email address and a credit card, and bang, they're a member. And
no, you're the optimist. That's a good thought if it were possible. But I'm going to tell you, there are not that many residents who come through, and we really try to hog-tie them when we find out they are, so we can at least begin to give them some information. And then besides residents of CCRCs, there are other people who are in senior housing and this sort of thing. So really we're just kind of an informational thing. But hey, Walt Boyer, add to this, will you? Because he's been very faithful.
No, let me jump in. We absolutely are going to be able to enroll members in the booth at the table.
But if those people are there to be able to do that.
Yes, we need the staff to be able to do that. And
But we need the people to come by who are residents who do that too. And so that's the issue, is trying to hogtie people that we find out are residents, because there are not going to be that many, or traditionally there have not been that many.
there are many providers who are willing to join NaCCRA if if the confidentiality of their membership can be preserved. But in the past, we publicized it in the Lifeline, and that caused consternation with some providers because the executives were punitive toward people who worked with the residents. But a lot of providers are clandestinely open to working and want to join NaCCRA, and we can absolutely provide that at the table. We also have Fred Herb. You haven't mentioned Fred Herb, who wrote to you and offered to help man the desk, and who is publishing a book, which he also will be bringing there. He's a resident. He lives at Mirabella in Seattle. He's a member of NaCCRA, a lifetime member, and we want to encourage that as well.
Can I make a suggestion? If and you mentioned Brad's book, and I've been recommending that almost to everybody, and even people who are not, even especially people who are not members yet, or even residents. And that's been going over pretty well. I have no idea how many have actually bought it. But is there a possibility that we can have an offer if you sign up for, say, a life membership? We'll give you a book or 2 books or whatever.
Well, that's 25. I don't know how much his book is, but do we have that kind of?
$13.
$13.
Well,
The paperback.
Well, we
I'm going to see Brad on the 17th of this month, and I will find out if that's a possibility and how we can do this.
Well, the incentive is, it's not the book, but the great thing is his website. There is more information on CCRCs than I've found anywhere.
Well,
Absolutely.
I think we do intend to have him available at the booth, Jim. You would be aware
Jim,
of that.
we can, if there's concurrence to add that to the member database, we can sell those books in combined payment, and Brad may be able to provide a discount on the book. If he provides a discount, that could make it very attractive.
Great idea.
Do you, as an aside, do you have a ballpark figure about how many books? Because he's prepared to bring some. Do you have a, no?
Nope. There's no way to ask him. If he brings 20, he'll sell 20. If he brings 50, he might sell 30.
Okay, all right. So okay, we could work on that one.
Okay.
This is Kim. Don't forget too that at the booth, as far as staff is concerned, if you guys want to sign up people for NaCCRA there and get a check from them and their completed, membership form, you can gather those up and send them to me in a package.
No, Kim, we don't need to do that. We'll just enroll them in the online system. There's no paper needs to be.
I'm gonna tell you, you just have, if you've never been to the exposition, it's not gangbusters, but there are a constant flow of people. So we'll do the best we can on this, but people are coming and going, and they're getting their little prizes as they go from place to place, and so it's not going to be a lot of people who would want to do this, but if those can snag those who do, and you give them a little incentives.
I think, Ruth, we have picked one thing out. We can't do all this work by committee right now on the phone. So
correct, absolutely.
But the point that's been made that I don't think we've ever really tried to do is to pursue provider memberships. We do have I don't know whether there's any market out there, but I don't think
there should be
very many resident people there. At least I didn't see that many in Indianapolis.
No, there aren't that many. About our little delegation, there might be 25 members.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I'm saying, Jack, one of the things I hadn't heard before as a focus for the booth is that perhaps we ought to put a focus on getting providers.
I think focus
as members, supporting members. Those-
You gotta know it's gonna be a lot of very, very different people, and there may be a few providers, but it's not gonna be the bulk of the people going through there. There's something like 5,000, that's too much. I don't know how many booths there are, but this extraordinary number. And so there are lots and lots of people selling and doing lots and lots of things, from bathtubs to socks for people who have problems with their feet.
Well, let's just take this under advisement. My feeling is we could probably talk about this for the next.
We could.
I do want to close out with one thing, Ruth. Bob Nicholson in the past has been very effective at the booth and has made a big thing out of enrolling providers. Because we need to win their hearts and minds to really accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. That's the whole reason.
We're not aggressive, but we're aggressive.
Excuse me. The reason we go to these meetings is to interact with providers to win hearts and minds.
That's exactly right.
To protecting residents and providing security for residents. The whole program is oriented that way, and we want them in affiliation with them. We want to encourage that.
Yeah, I think we said the same thing. Anyhow, any other points for Ruth before we let her go?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. There was came on the email asking a chart, asking us to put on our cell phone number so we can contact one another. And I did put my cell phone number in, but I haven't seen a copy of that chart, so I could.
I don't know what chart it is.
Okay.
I think I know which one it is. I'll try to find it. We have a listing of people who are going to be there with their contact numbers.
Yeah,
I have that in front of me, but But as I say, the only thing I have in front of me are those people who are staying at our hotel.
Does that contain any cell phone numbers, Ruth?
Yes, it does.
It does contain
anybody's
cell
cell phone number, and I'm concerned because my plane lands at 6:45 p.m. on Friday, which means that I'm going to be coming into the hotel pretty late. So
it's not a problem.
I need to be able to contact somebody to find out what's going on.
Well, do you have that list, Jean? Have you seen? You haven't seen the list, is what you're saying.
I put my cell phone in, and I didn't get any list back, so that I can call anybody.
Can you send that list around the horn to all the board members, Ruth?
Yes, but I'm going to tell you once again, this only has the names of the people who are staying at this hotel that we're staying at.
I think you've got them all. We tried to get them all at the same hotel.
That's okay.
I know, but
I'm at the hotel, and I still can't. I don't know what room anybody's in, so I can't call a room.
Nor do we.
I don't have a cell phone, so
we don't know. What I have in this list is the person's name, their email address, their telephone number, what community they're from, and their title. That's all that's on here. That's all that I could get.
Did you just say you do not have mobile phone numbers?
I have the phone number that's listed here, whether it's a mobile phone or whatever it is.
Oh, I think most of us would have given. We gave a contact number at the hotel. I'll make sure, Gene. We'll pick up on that. That's a good point. I thought we had it.
No, because really, only thing I know is what I have in my hand right now, which is just the people who are staying at that hotel.
Yeah.
So, and then there's no way to find out from Leading Age who's coming.
Okay. Okay.
Well, that's what I need is the name of somebody who's staying at the hotel, because that's where I'm.
We'll get you the hotel number, and you can. And all the numbers that you're going to receive are the people who are staying at that hotel.
Part of the register.
That's all I have.
Okay.
You have my cell phone number.
What?
So people can call me on my cell phone.
Oh, yes, I've got your phone number, 757-639-3225.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think they're on there. Mine's on there, I know.
Yeah, they will, and I'll send this to everyone so that you will have a copy of it.
You will send it. Okay.
I would just like to add, for those of you that have a smartphone, there is a Leading Age convention app that you can download, and it will have the schedule, and also it has the attendance list that you can do searches.
Okay.
But they exclude NaCCRA.
No, but at least you'll be able to see how many people are there.
And it does tell you what events you're scheduled for and that sort of thing.
Is that on-
Everyone
is that on
will
the app?
receive a large booklet from Leading Age if you have registered, and
It's
it will
on-
have everything under the sun in there.
Will we get that in the mail?
Yes, and it will give you all of the events, all the places that each event is located. It will give you so much information. Also on their speakers, that 3 phenomenal speakers, and all their information will be there. So it's a wonderful compilation.
Okay.
Come in the mail. And you pick it up when you register.
Here's the
You do,
book.
or it might come to you in the mail. Mine usually comes in the mail.
Yeah,
This is how
that's
big
it.
the book is.
Hmm?
That's the
Ron's
book.
got it holding it up for you. But I got that last year when I checked in, I believe.
Yes, you did. And then there's an updated one from there that you will also receive. So whatever you get in the mail it will be updated when you check in, and then you'll get that's the hottest, latest information.
But the hard part for us is that we will have our meetings before we check into the conference. That's the reason we need to send that around ahead of time. Okay, I'd like to call time on this one, and we need to move on to the membership administration system. Jack, are you ready for that?
Sure. And Kim and Jim can jump in on this at any point because they've been deeply involved. But as expected, there's a learning experience going on. There's an issue that's come up even as we speak. So since this, I just forwarded an email to Kim and Jim Haynes from Steve Ritchie's, raising concerns about how the credit card processing would work for recurrent payments for the automatic renewal processing. And I'm hoping Jim Haynes will work with Steve to work out all of that. And Kim and I think, are on a learning curve here, but Jim has prior experience, so that's going well. This system now allows people to enroll directly into NaCCRA online at the booth or in their homes, in their home CCRCs, with assistance from a fellow resident or on their own, for those people who are capable of doing it. Now, I know that Ruth is not enamored of online, but this will be a tremendous breakthrough, and I can assure you that the provider people who might join in New Orleans will be perfectly comfortable joining online, and it will just enable us to really process these memberships through in a very rapid way and get people involved without them having to say, well, give me the form and I'll take it home and think about it. You'll be able to close the membership right there in the booth. So this is a tremendous breakthrough to us. And I think once we get it up and running and all the bugs worked out, which we're doing one by one as we move forward, this will be the engine that helps us to really grow our membership and to provide a great benefit to community associations, people in their CCRCs that they haven't had as up to now. So the focus is going to be empowering the individual CCRCs to affiliate with NaCCRA and to accomplish things which are of value and benefit to people in their CCRCs, where they live.
That's optimistic, Jack. I think that it's that we don't need to give up on the possibility of people still using a registration form, putting it in an envelope with a check, and mailing it in.
No, we know that there are people who have not made the transition into the modern world, and that's Kim is there, and they will do everything they've always done. Partners is ready and able to handle all of that for the people where life has passed them by. So we understand all about that.
We just need to bring everything up to date in Kansas City and also in New Orleans.
Thank you, Ruth, for seeing my dark humor there.
I'm going to tell an
Yeah.
anecdotal thing if
And,
I can.
I think it'll be, I'll tell you, it's here in our CCRC, this is going to be a boon in each individual CCRC. For example,
I'm sure it will.
Falcons Landing, they have an issue with expansion, which is being handled in a very insensitive way. That's something where those residents can begin to make a difference, and we can help them with that. Here in our CCRC, we've had explosive adoption of the Amazon Echo. 80 of our 100, we have 145 residents, residences, apartments. 80 of them now have the Amazon Echo. So we're in a position to really use technology moving forward in ways, and what we found is that it's the oldest people who adopt that technology. Grace Bolton, who's going to be 100 years old this year, loves it because it reads the Bible to her. It does all wonderful things. So, and she can adjust the temperature in her room by just telling the Echo what to do. So I think you'll find that people who are afraid of technology and resistant to technology will find that there are wonderful things that can be done with it. And we're making a beginning with this wonderful membership accounting system. Administration.
I'll tell you, when I'm recruiting membership for NaCCRA here at Westminster Canterbury, what I do is I write a note, and then I put, urging them to join, and I put a brochure in everybody's box, and the brochure has the application form in, and I put an envelope addressed to NaCCRA, so that all they have to do is write out a check, fill out the form, and mail it in. Now I can, in my note, tell them they can also register online, but I have to give them the details about how to go about it.
Well, I'll talk with you separately, Gene, because I don't want to take up the time of this meeting going over that. But what you're doing is just fine, and you can continue to do that 100%. And you may find a confederate there who can help you to speed that up a little bit. But we'll talk about that separately.
And the other thing is just a PS to that. In the notes and news that comes from our executive board every month, there is another spot in there on the back side of the pages that gives an opportunity to support and join NaCCRA there as well. So there's all kinds of information available. Truly, it's there.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on that, Jack, you want to cover? I will tell you this, on Saturday, I'm going to try to do it live in our
Hallelujah. Great.
and we'll see how it works.
We'll find out later. Well, Jim tried it. Jim tried it with a lady there at Falcons Landing, and we got some valuable experience from that, which we're trying to adapt. So we'll be adapting as we go along, because we're learning what works and what doesn't.
Well, I don't know how many people we'll get that aren't members. I suspect most of the people we'll get on Saturday have already joined, but we'll find out.
Yeah, we will.
They're going to want to log in. I think there is a back door to do that, which is last name, first initial, with caps on the initial parts.
All right. Anything else that we need to talk about? Kim, you got anything from your end?
We have.
Okay.
We have two other items, right, that aren't on the agenda?
PayPal?
No.
PayPal's here for me. Yeah, I do have it.
Okay. Do you want to handle those two items?
Well, let's handle the PayPal first. We did meet, Ann and I and Jack did accept and approve the acquisition of the PayPal Pro for NaCCRA. One of the issues, well, I'll simply leave it at that. I would like to make that action a matter of record for the minutes this week.
Yeah, for the just as background, I think make it part of the minutes, but also if somebody objects. This involves an expenditure of $360 a year. So that's why it came up. It was a proposal by Jim Haynes that has experience with this, and it would greatly improve the enrollment process, make it easier to gain new members. So the cost is $360, which is 18 memberships at $20 each. So the question is, would having this additional capability produce at least 18 memberships that we might not otherwise get? And I think the business judgment of Jim Haynes, which we concur with, is that it would. So unless there's somebody on the board who has an objection to that, we can consider that the board has ratified the action of the executive committee to enter into that arrangement.
And the other item, Jack, was?
We received we've been trying to get the joint task force. We have a leading age and NaCCRA have a joint task force consisting of a select membership, and the provider members are quite powerful. They're Terry Cunliffe, who's CEO of Covenant Retirement Communities, which is a major multi-state operation. Sean Kelly, who's the CEO of Kendall Corporation, which is the most respected CCRC operation in the United States, I think it's fair to say. And Roberta Jacobson, who's president of Front Porch, which is a large multi-facility operator in California, and they have one in Florida and Louisiana. And I think, and then there's Tom Akins, who's very close with Walt Boyer there. And so it's a powerful group, but we've had trouble getting it off the ground. They've now approached us that they would like us to work with them in formulating a response to the reform of tax policy in the United States. And that's pretty high level and is going to take some work. But since the providers are reaching out to us, we're eager to get going with them. And I think that's the most positive news we've had from the provider side in the past 2 years.
Oh, that's good.
I would concur with that last statement, Jack.
Well, that's why I thought it was news, because we need some good news. So we got some.
Yeah.
You might ask them when you meet. Remember last year, they wanted us to sign up for their Senior Action Network,
Yes.
which I did, but I have never received any information back from them about it.
Well, because I think they were trying to form an organization to supersede NaCCRA so that they could control the information from the provider perspective and say, this is what residents want, and it happens to be everything that we providers like. And that was, so I think they put a lot of money into that, but I don't think it really got going. And so it
That's what I suspect. Yeah.
There, but I think now they're beginning to realize that they can't bury NaCCRA, so they want to try to subsume NaCCRA, and that's not going to work either. But at least I think we gain more by trying to win hearts and minds than we do being combative.
I agree with that.
Okay.
So just for the record, I did not hear a response from the board members to ratify the action of the executive committee.
This is Walt, and I was going to make a motion that we approve the actions of the executive committee.
And I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Well, wait a minute. What are we voting on? I don't understand the motion.
The motion specifically is that we ratify the action that was taken by the executive committee.
Gene really doesn't understand.
PayPal to PayPal.
Yeah. PayPal Pro. Uh-huh.
Okay, Gene, what this is that we would make a nominal payment, $360 a year, which would enable us to accept credit cards in addition to checks.
So that, okay, so that's the action we're approving. I see, okay.
That's what we talked about earlier. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? You got it. Okay. Editorial calendar. Ruth.
Okay, I'm here.
Mhm.
And I think what I'm going to try to do is to make this shorter and succinct because what we have done at this point in history is we are preparing 4 copies of Lifeline per year. And so I have in my hand, it's an editorial calendar, at which time the content is due to to Bennett's shop, and then we go through the process. And it's very clear that we need to come up with a policy. So one of the things I'm asking is that when we get to New Orleans, that our committee meets and try to evolve a policy that would really enumerate all of the things that we want to have happen, including the date that the content is due to headquarters, and then how we go about this. The way we've set it up now, we're getting the information that we would like to have into the Lifeline, and then it goes to Bennett's shop, and at that point it's then given to the copy is given, and it doesn't necessarily have to be put in final form, but the copy is put in so that for the designer, and it's the designer because I lost my paper, but it was the designer then who puts together the issue as we have projected. And I lost my paper, damn, excuse my French. Anyway, because it's not that cumbersome, but it is cumbersome, I was going to try to have a small committee meeting when we get to where are we going? New Orleans. And have this so we can come up with the policy as we want to have it happen, and that what the designer would be responsible for, and we don't have to put the thing together at all. If we have the articles, then the designer goes about the format. And Kim, can you add anything more to that real quickly?
No, well, you covered it. That's what y'all need to do.
Yeah. So in any case,
From an outsider's vantage point, if I could say this, I thought that we could make that a bit smoother. And from this aspect, I think that, we've got a lot of people putting inputs in to the Lifeline.
Yes.
But sooner or later, somebody has to make a judgment as to what's it going to look like and what's going in, and, verbiage choices and the rest of that stuff. The way we're designed now, that rests with the editorial committee. And that's the way we've set it, with consisting of Ruth and Jean and others. But in my take on it, first of all, we set for the last quarter, the due date was 29 September.
It was.
And I all of a sudden, I was getting editorial stuff in ahead of when it was due. I thought I was ahead of the power curve, and I find out I'm behind the power curve.
Yeah.
No, you were fine.
Yeah,
You were
well,
fine.
I was, but my point I'm making is that it seems like it ought to come to the central point of the editorial committee, who makes the judgments about what goes in and what needs to be edited and what the package looks like.
That's exactly it. And so if we could evolve a policy statement that would let us do that, and if we could our committee get together and do that for a small amount of time when we can all see one another and talk together and be rational about some of the points, that would be very helpful. So could you put aside about a half hour or so we can put this together?
Mm-hmm.
Basil, so it will happen.
It's always a messy process. I've been the decider on some of those things, and it's just impossible to keep everybody happy. But there has to be a process that brings it together without haggling it too long.
Kim, would you just put
to you?
Yeah. What we need to know is and Kim, just very briefly, would you just say what the designer is sets to do and what we have asked her to do.
Okay, so the designer, the purpose of the designer is to, and this is a directive from the committee and from the board, was to lay it out, make it aesthetically pleasing, easy to read, and more modern.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what her function is. So she, in a perfect situation, everybody would turn in their content in a Word document. It's reviewed by the committee. It's proofread. Everybody loves it. Changes are made, and then it is basically the final text, if you will, content. You hand it over to the designer. The designer lays it out, makes it pretty, and then returns it to us for what should be just very minor tweaks, very small things that could have slipped through the cracks. That is the ultimate goal.
And that would be very workable.
And so this go around doesn't seem to be the case that it's working that way.
Yeah. So it's been great. So that it comes very clearly that we need to establish a policy to have this happen and happen efficiently and effectively, and not take so much time.
Well, there are.
So with your permission, yes. Was that Jag?
Yes. There are decisions of content, decisions concerning placement and content that shouldn't be left solely to the designer who isn't familiar with the purposes of the organization. For example, the designer, we've always included an opportunity for to use the Lifeline as a marketing device to encourage membership. So we've always included the information about how to become a member. The designer has eliminated that. Is that a decision we want to leave to the designer, or is that something that should be under control of the editorial board?
Well, my thought is if we come up with the policy statement, then the designer will have a roadmap with which to do his or her work, and we'll still have a good input.
Mr. Cumming, what are you referring to exactly?
Well, first, I hope if Ruth will draft that policy statement, we can respond to that statement.
The designer eliminating something. What are you talking about?
On page 8, we've always included a little membership form. It used to be on page 12, but now that we've gone to 8 pages.
It was not on the proof that you guys sent.
The designer eliminated that.
Well,
No,
what?
it wasn't on the proof.
What?
It wasn't on the content that you guys sent.
It was on the content that we sent. It was.
See, I don't think we shouldn't have to do this at this point in history.
That's different from what we got back from the designer.
Okay.
So let me ask this. Who sends the content in and where does it go? For example, we have a column here from Ron Whalen. Where does he send his column? Does he send it to Kim's office? I'm assuming it doesn't go directly to the designer.
Well, no, it did not. It went to Basil, and so that's why we need to have a policy statement so we can figure out the roadmap to do this, so that we're not falling out and things aren't falling through the cracks. And that's why it would be much easier, better for us to do this as a committee rather than cause extra concern at this point in the monthly conference call.
If I decided to write a column, who would I send it to?
To me. And then we will see how it goes.
Is everybody
putting
sending
it together? That's why we need to set this.
But wait a minute. Our editorial calendar says all content to Kim Barclay. My understanding is that that's where it goes.
And it will ultimately, the next content thing is by the 15th of December. So we've got time to get this
But for the
established.
final one, it was due to Kim. Can we send it to Kim?
Oh, okay, I can clarify. Everything should come to me on that date from Ruth. The committee should be gathering the information. It internally through the committee should be proofread, and what is a pretty much a final draft would come to me on that date. You guys have to work internally on errors, where you want placement and so forth. And then Mr. Cumming, to your point, I just went and looked. The Word document you sent to me, Lifeline, did not have the membership application on it on the last page.
That's why I sent you the PDF, and I explained that the PDF included page 8. The Word document was 7 pages. I just gave you the Word document to help you because I took over the page 8 from the last issue.
Okay, my apology then.
So when the designer didn't eliminate it.
It wasn't intentional. I didn't take I didn't have page 8 to give because it's in a PDF, but I can fix that.
Okay.
So, but this is the issue. We got to get these all square so we don't do this again.
I just want to make sure that this system works for us, and we get what we want in there. We get it. But my understanding was it all started with you, Kim. We need to make sure you have it.
Yeah, and that's the issue, to be sure that she has it and this sort of thing. So with your concurrence, my board, if we could just have this policy statement meeting so we could get this square and we don't have to involve everybody at this point.
I think you're the chair of the editorial committee, Ruth. I think it's in your hands.
I agree with that.
I'm still not clear as to what exactly is going on. I'm a member of the communications committee, and the first time I learned what was going on in this newsletter is when I got the copy that the designer had put together. I still don't know who Ron Whalen sent his article to.
These are the things that this committee right now should not have to hear all of this going on. So that's why I need to have us meet, and we can set the policy and we can get this squared away. I'm not evading your question.
Did Ron Whalen send his column to you, Margaret? Ruth?
Yes, he did, and then I sent it on. And I believe that there were some corrections that needed to be made, which he did, and then it went to Kim. I sent everything to Jack Cumming to review what else we had. So these are the things that this whole committee should not have to listen to. Anyway, Basil, what?
We need to have something written that says a little bit more than what we have here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm on the committee, the only thing I have to do, the only job I'm expected to do is to proofread it.
Well, this is what we got to get squared away. So with your nod, we're going to give ourselves a half hour sometime in New Orleans and get this squared away, our crew. So that's what we're going to do, and I'll set the time with Basil that we can do this. And I'll be sure to find out when everybody's coming in so we can get this accomplished. And I thank you for that.
Okay, let's leave it at that. But I would appreciate any input from anybody before that session happens, because I think there were obviously some things that Jack wanted in that didn't get in for one reason or another. Some understanding of how to funnel it. My understanding was I just took this thing literally. I thought that everything went to you, Kim, to somehow pull together and get out. So
this is a learning experience for us all. I say this is a learning experience for us all.
Let's just take it like that and try it before, because when we go on a faster cycle next year, it'll be a much faster cycle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Get the kinks out, and then we'll know where we're at.
Okay. I'm going to skip the 2017 actions because Walt's on the phone, and I want to talk about membership. We're not as far along as I thought we would be on the membership proposal, and there's for me 3 key issues that have to be somehow baked into that. And the three issues that are involved, the two-tiered digital versus non-digital membership, if we want to do that, any dues increase that we might want to put in place, and finally, the use of rebates to build program at our community associations. Walt did a good job of projecting increases at the 10, 15, and 10, 20, 30% level, and he showed the economic impact of that. And we've all the members of the committee had that. I have to say I'm not as far along on the analysis as I really would like to be, but it's my intention, if given the horsepower, that I would come to New Orleans and give you advance information of what I think the right recommendation would be. Now, Walt has had some issues he's dealing with, so I'm going to turn it over to him. But my point in bringing this up and having it on the schedule today is I don't think we ought to let this languish a long time. We've talked about dues increases ever since I've been here. We've talked about two-tier digital versus print type copies. And we've also talked about the use of rebates to build an educational programs for community associations. I'd like to pursue those, even if we don't do it 100% right. I'd like to get something in motion. And if it's not good enough when we come together the next time, we can vote it down and with new direction from the board. But I think that we can spend an awful lot of time in analysis and not really able to make progress on the issues. All I want to do is to get something in your hands, I would say, perhaps in the next couple of weeks, so that when you come to the board meeting on the 28th and 29th, that we're able to have some meaningful dialogue. If we're ready to put something in front of the board for motions and resolutions, we can do it. If not, we still got another couple months before the year's out. But it seems to me that we got to pull this to some kind of action, or we just stay in the deliberation mode the rest of our lives. So I am trying to move it forward. Walt, what would you say? How do you?
I really am sorry I'm not going to be with you in New Orleans. My doctor's got me on new medication, and he wants me to make it easy until he feels that my situation is stabilized. He's asked me this. He will let me travel with a nurse, but not otherwise right now.
I'm a nurse, Walt.
Well, I had a nurse drive me to the meeting yesterday, which is about 3 hours away, and he accepted that. But I think eventually he's going to let me travel again. But he wants me to stay here until my medication situation is stabilized, and he's got me in the right place. Going back, I know you probably don't have all those spreadsheets in front of you right now. So let me just assuming you don't have them there. Those spreadsheets are set up for a baseline, three baselines of a possible dues structure in the future. One is the current one of $20, which I consider a baseline. And I increased it by $5 to $25, and I increased it again by $5 to $30. So you have three options that you could look at. I want to tell you that for looking at a starting point for developing a budget, look at the spreadsheet column for a membership level of 2,000. And I think that would, if you want to develop a budget, that gives you a starting point. I won't say those are all the right numbers. I don't think they are. I think that the board will have to look at those and play with them and make a few changes to get to the budget they want. But those numbers will at least give you a place to start from. Depending on which baseline level you choose, I have assumed that that the lifetime memberships are going to be 10 times the baseline. And I've assumed that for the $20, I'm going to stay with $15 for the second person. But for the 25 and 30, I said to myself that the Lifeline, I looked at the Lifeline costs that were given to me by Kim. They may have changed a little bit since then, but basically, if we have 4 issues a year, it costs a little under $8 per copy for each person per year. If you have 6 copies per year, 6 issues per year, it's going to be just under $10 per person. Is the average cost, and I assumed on those spreadsheets that you were going to have 6 issues per year. Ruth may want to stay with 4. That's a decision you all may want to make.
Yeah.
But for budget purposes, I assumed 6, simply because it was a little more expensive. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think, as far as as what you should choose, my recommendation is to go for an increase to $25. Increase the Lifeline dues accordingly. Have the dues for a member that is a second person in a household to be $10 less, simply because they're not getting a Lifeline. And if you want to make well, let me go back a little bit and say I think you can do satisfactorily, assuming we maintain for a while the idea of limiting reimbursement for travel. Now, later on, as we grow, I think when we get to 10 or 20,000, we can probably reinstate that. But for the time being, I think you need to stick with that, if you can do it.
Now, does everybody, first of all, have you received and had a chance to look at I know that Gerard and some of you have not, but for the board members, they should have had this opportunity to look at the sheets that Walt put forward. So there's something that would happen between now and, say, middle of this month, as these things would be put in front of you.
Yeah.
And Walt is saying he's picking a middle ground. He's saying a $5 increase. We talked up to 10. So that's some of that's a marketing decision, but at least we have to have some proposal coming out of this. And I think until we get it down to a specified proposal, it's very hard to work with.
Yeah.
So I would hope that at a minimum we could walk away from our session, which is just a few days away. What's the day? The 4th? And so 24 days, it's not very much time, that we could begin to form some consensus for the board about how to move forward. The one big one for me is the 2-tiered, because I think we are moving into a digital age. You know, we're probably going to have people that want print copies for as long as I'm alive. But we can let the market decide that. We can let people elect which it is they prefer, and we pass on any savings to our members.
Yeah.
To me, the most important part of this whole discussion is the rebates to help drive community programs. If we use rebates, I don't think I would be in favor of just pushing them out. I think that our communities will thrive or not thrive depending on what kind of programs we put in the hands of the members we serve at the community level. And it seems like to me rebates could really facilitate adult learning models at the level. If we have sessions that that are put on and are coordinated with our state organizations and community organizations that really are equipping members for what I look at as the civics of living at a CCRC. What are responsibilities? What do residents have that allows them to have an effective voice in what's happening in their place? So I look at that rebate as key, but not just a matter of throwing money out there, but rather facilitating the development of meaningful programs at the community level. So I realize that's not, very definitive, and it's a handful of smoke until we get it on paper. But I'm beginning to be able to look through Walt's papers and the stuff that I've worked on before, and I'm getting some sense of how we might move this forward. The reason it's on the agenda today is this is the opportunity to put input into that before we cinch it up even more.
Well,
Walt,
I have a couple of I have a couple of thoughts on
okay.
Walt's work. He predicates it on a number of assumptions. The first critical assumption is the membership count. And I have not seen a credible count of exactly what our membership is. I've seen a number of 2,100 and I've seen a number of 1,800. And that's a material difference. So I think we need to know, there's a clicking going on. Is that okay? Anyway, I think we need to know that. The second is there's an assumption that the unit cost of the Lifeline publication does not change even if the print run is drastically changed with electronic delivery. That's a false assumption. We would be making a terrible error in business judgment if we were to retain the assumption that the unit cost is a fixed number per copy when the publication of a newsletter like Lifeline involves a heavy fixed cost element. A third factor is Walt's assumption that the second member in a household gets a discount because they don't receive a Lifeline. That's not true. We receive 2 Lifelines here now regularly. My wife and I are both members, and there is no distinction. We get 2 Lifelines.
You do.
We do, and I think that's quite common. And then fourth, I think this language of rebates has become an unfortunate terminology. I think what we're talking about are CCRC benefits that would strengthen our recruiting at the CCRC level. Paying out rebates, the local people take the money and spend it and say thank you very much, but it doesn't serve. When we've tested it, it has not served to incentivize the recruiting of new members at that level. They just take the money. So I think we have a number of at least those 4 critical business decisions that we need to get our heads around before we go and jump at a number.
Okay.
Let me make some comments on that. I agree with everything that Jack has said. Unfortunately, I did not have good data on the printing costs other than what was given to me by Kim, and that was at a fairly constant level. So I didn't have information that would provide for the change in printing costs for large and small batches. I had to use a straight line number for that. But I did break out the editing and graphic designs, which are going to be a constant cost, and put that in separately so that the printing costs are listed individually on that in that spreadsheet. I think the decision to make the Lifeline available only by email to people with a reduced dues is a decision that the board needs to make, and then we need to follow up on it in terms of the distribution cases. And for each level, I put down two situations. One in which we have essentially all of the normal, say, $20 or $25 dues paying members get the Lifeline, and another case in which at least 50% of the membership have elected to do it, to get it online. So you can see the difference. If you assume that half of our people will receive the Lifeline online, you will see the difference in the budget, how that impacts the budget. Second point I want to make, it has to do with the rebates. I had a discussion very briefly with Basil on the issue of a point in the bylaws which allows us to have bulk rates to communities. That, to my knowledge, that's never been exercised by the board.
No, you're absolutely right. The idea there was, like insurance, you have individual insurance and group insurance. We were going to do group proposals. We never have had the analytical capability to put that together, and people just took shots at it. So that we were going to take it out of the bylaws because it just was too confusing for the caliber of people who serve on the board.
Yeah, well, one of the issues we have is apparently that there are still a few CCRCs, and Basil mentioned one of them to me specifically, in which they consider if they've paid the community dues, a number of people at that CCRC are automatically members of NaCCRA. And we can't afford to continue that.
No.
And so what I proposed in my last email was that instead of using the term rebates, the board would exercise its authority under the bulk membership rule and allow a $2 drop in the dues for those CCRCs who would have $25 certify on the end of each year that at least 25% of their independent living residents were members, and a I said $5, but you can choose $4 drop for those CCRCs that would certify at the end of each year that they had a 50% of their independent living members as residents of NaCCRA. Now that dues would apply to the following year, that dues rate would apply to the following year, and it would, if they wanted to accept the fact that all of their people would receive the Lifeline by email, then that drop would come from the reduced rate. If they wanted paper copies, then it would have to come from the normal rate. And I think that is another alternative that you can consider, or that would eliminate this question that people keep bringing up, whether or not community dues count for all of their residents.
Okay, well, we're not ready to vote for anything on this yet. Is there anybody who needs to see Walt's papers? Everybody had visibility of what he's proposed so far.
Well, I'd like to include Jim Haynes in this.
Okay, we can do that. Jim, would you like to see a copy of that?
I believe, unless it's changed from what you sent me earlier, I'll look for it. And if I can't find it, I'll let you know.
Okay, I'll go ahead and send you a copy anyway right away.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else need to see that?
Gerard, do you want to get into this game?
No, I do not, Jack, but thank you for considering me.
I don't want to drag this out any longer, but I would like to give everybody an opportunity for input, because obviously we're working it and we're trying to move it forward.
If anybody has any questions after they take a look at this, you could give me a call or send me an email and I'll try to respond as best I can to your question.
Okay.
Thank
I
you all.
to make a, after looking at all your analysis and spreadsheet work, no wonder you had a heart attack.
Be nice.
Oh, one last point I will make.
Yep.
I used a lot of formula in these spreadsheets, using Excel formula to develop the spreadsheet. Like any piece of code that you write, somewhere there's going to be an error, and I've already found several and corrected several errors, and I suspect there's still more. So if anybody is familiar with Excel coding and wants to check my coding, please do, and let me know if you find any errors.
Did you use, are you using Visual Basic?
No, I'm not. I'm just using straight Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay. The only thing I wanted to say on membership is I rang the alarm bell last meeting on membership numbers, and that's where this 1,800 came out. And just in the last week or so, I've got a record and a note from Leslie Sullivan of the partner staff that listed a bunch of memberships and a whole community who are in default asking for approval to drop the membership. Now it's dropping because of non-payment. This happens to be a Florida unit, it happens to be in Tallahassee. And so the point for me is I'd hate to drop these things without somebody calling. And I'll try the first one. The reason I have it in my hand is I'm going to call and see what's happened. How did we lose a community dues and about 45 or so individual members along with it? I want to pursue that a bit before we just wipe the records clean and not try to attempt to reclaim the membership. That's a big slug lost. That really concludes the agenda that I wanted to cover today. Is there any other business? I apologize for the length once again of the session. Any other commentary to come before the board? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move that the meeting adjourn.
Hey.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
And do you have a projected first meeting date when we're in New Orleans? That Friday night?
It's on the schedule. What I said was the night we get there, and people are going to arrive at different times, but we're all in the same hotel.
Yeah.
We could, as we arrive, try to arrange for a common meal, a drink together, whatever you want. I put the meeting starting in not till 10 o'clock on the Saturday morning because of West Coast arrivals.
Yeah.
But I think that we ought to gather as quickly as we can, and there's a whole agenda for that day. But we did not put the beginning of meetings till 10 a.m.
Okay. Just checking. I'm just trying to find a time that our little crew can meet together.
Well, if we're all there, we could meet early Saturday morning if you want to get it out of the way.
Alrighty.
Okay, before we adjourn, can I ask Jack, will there be a way for me to be able to get online with you during your meetings by phone?
If you send me an email, I put it in the lifeline that anybody who wanted that kind of feed should email us so that we can give them the connection. And that's still to be determined whether we use Facebook Live or we use this Zoom connection isn't clear at this point. It also depends on how much bandwidth there is in the meeting room. And my experience is you don't know what kind of Wi-Fi you're going to get until you get there, because it's just like any hotel Wi-Fi. You go into some hotels and they offer you free Wi-Fi, but it sucks.
Yeah.
And other ones, you go in and it's fine. So
Jack, would you just let me know what you need, and I'll see if we can't get that for our meeting room. So if you could let me know that, because I could be in touch with Leslie.
I mean, okay, Ruth, your community is a good example. You have Wi-Fi community-wide at Stone Ridge, but
Yes.
it's not adequate to support you having a video on this.
That's correct.
And so.
But if we're, I think the hotel, the main hotel is the Marriott. And I think that's probably where we're going to be meeting there or right close to the convention center. So if you could tell me that, I can ask that Leslie, who is my contact, to have that, whatever the accommodations are we need
The
for.
Wi-Fi is going to be whatever they give us.
Okay.
So don't you worry about it, Ruth. We've got that'll be okay. We're going to do the best we can, and we're going to try to connect in people who can't be there in person.
Okay. All right.
Jack, one or more of you might want to consider a Verizon wireless hotspot, which is what I'm currently using with my notebook computer. So you have your own Wi-Fi system wherever you are.
Hey, folks, this is Ron. I have a hotspot. It happens to be AT&T, but I got a hotspot.
Yeah, I have
On my phone.
If
a T-Mobile hotspot.
if you're kind enough to let Jack use it,
I'll be kind enough to let Jack use it because he's my friend.
I have a T-Mobile hotspot as well, but it slows down. I see your Verizon is working very well, so we'll see how that and they're reputed to be the best. So if we could get that, that'd be great. But anyway,
What you're on now, Gerard?
I have a clarification I'd like to make. A clarification. I think I have down that we're in the Hilton Garden Hotel.
That's correct.
And that we are going to meet for breakfast at 8 o'clock in the Garden Grill. And then we're going to the Convention Center for a meeting which opens at 10 a.m. Our meetings will be in
that's where we're going to be meeting, and that's the one that the NaCCRA or the leading age is arranging for us, and that will be our room for the day.
Right. So
I'm going to find that out.
But we should be able to get together for breakfast at 8 o'clock in the hotel where we're staying.
Well, I don't know whether I'm going to be down there at 8 o'clock.
There is no restaurant in the hotel at which we are staying.
It says breakfast in Garden Grill. That's not in
Well, I don't know where that is, but it ain't in our hotel, I'll tell you that.
So we have to find out.
Much to my distress.
We'll have to find out where that is. I don't know. I know that we didn't start anything officially till 10 o'clock.
Yep.
So maybe the Garden Grill is in the Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Those are things to be decided or to be finally finalized.
We need to know that. We'll get that out to you.
Karen's trying to get it.
Somebody arranged for it, so we need to know where it is.
Yeah,
We're going to find out. We got to.
I don't know.
Okay, Ruth and Jean, could you be quiet? Because Ann is trying to get a word in, can't.
I went to the hotel website and it says that there's a grill there that's a bar and restaurant.
Oh.
That's good information, Ann.
Well, it is. I like your information better than the one I got. So let's hope for that.
Beer for breakfast.
Beer, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
2:40, changing the agenda.